anything that's worthwhile is going to take a lot of work. You're going to want to give up like most of the time. Welcome back to Christina's Garage Gearhead in Training. One of the things that makes PRI so special is that it is racing focused. Let's go and interview some racers today. I just met Laela. Would you mind sharing what kind of racing you do and how you got into it?
Yeah, so my name's laelaeisenschenk. I'm 17 years old. I've been racing since I was 5 years old. You know, I grew up in a big racing family, and I've done it since I was just a little baby. So, yeah, I grew up racing go-karts till about I was 12, and then I got into 305 sprint cars, and I've been racing those for 3 years, and I've raced 410 sprint cars and late models.
What advice would you give for someone else that's interested to getting into sprint car racing and maybe they don't know anybody or have any experience?
Yeah, I just give anyone getting into racing, never give up, you know, beat to your own drum. Just, you know, it's a big mental sport, and it takes a lot of mental toughness, and, you know, the good days take them as good as the bad days. So I just give anyone advice getting into racing to never give up.
If someone wants to follow you on social media or anything like that, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find us at DSR Racing, Donny Schatz Racing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
And Amelia, they're twins.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a different question. Sprint car racing, like how does it work? Because I know it's can you do it on dirt and pavement? How?
It's mostly just dirt. There's some different types of forms of racing you can do on asphalt or pavement that is kind of like a sprint car, but yeah, just mostly on dirt. There's 3 different types of engines, a 305, a 360, and a 410, and all different sorts of racetracks, sizes, shapes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a different aspect of racing for sure on dirt, but yeah, it's pretty cool, high speeds.
With advice to someone who might just be getting started, what would you tell them?
You gotta live your dreams. I mean, it's something that it's no feeling like no other. You know, you're going so fast, but you know, you don't think about it most of the time. You gotta, if you've never been to a sprint car race, you gotta get out there and go to one. It's pretty cool, and it's an experience you'll never forget for sure.
I actually had another question that just popped into my head. Which one of you started first? Did you both start at the same time?
We both started at the same time at 5 years old. So we've been doing it since day one together, and our uncle, Donny Schatz, has been by our side the whole time. So it's been pretty fun and cool to travel, you know, all around and experience things that, you know, most kids wouldn't. It's pretty cool to travel with your family and, you know, meet so many different people. It's just pretty cool experience, and if you're a race fan, you got to go to a dirt late model race or a sprint car race sometime.
I just met Donny Schatz, and would you mind sharing what type of racing you do and how did you get into it?
So I race World of Outlaw 410 dirt sprint cars, wing sprint cars. There's obviously a lot of different types of sprint cars, but they're probably the most horsepower, the lightest, the fastest of all the sprint car class. My story goes back a long ways. My father raced from 1970 to 1977 when I was born. I'm a second generation racer, and that's how I got my love for the sport, was my father taking me to the races as a young man. And first time I ever got to watch sprint cars at the age 5, it was just something about them, the noise, the dirt, knowing your father raced these things. It kind of hooked me. I fell in love with them and dreamt of racing them someday, and had a very good career. I've been around, started racing in '93, so if we can count that far back, that's 32 years, I think, or 31 years. Been racing professionally with the World of Outlaws since 1997. Had a long journey, great journey, won 10 championships, won a lot of marquee events and races, so it's one of them things, I dreamt about it and was able to live my dream. And I say that in racing, they ask you how you're doing, and I say every day I'm living the dream.
What kind of advice would you give for somebody that is interested in sprint car racing?
This is a great question. It's a great topic. You see a lot of young people, young kids running around here. And every parent wants their kid to be the best they can, and every kid has a dream and aspirations. But sometimes it can come too quick. The journey that I had was a long one. And we all want success and we want it instantly, but unfortunately, if you're going to learn and do things right, things don't just happen immediately. You have to deal with that side of it, that you got to learn from every mistake you make and then correct so you don't make that mistake again. And that's a long journey. It's not just going to be 1 month or 2 months or 1 year. It took me 10 years before I was successful out here, but I never gave up. I never quit. There was times you maybe thought it in the back of your mind for a second, but then that second it went by the wayside. So trust the journey. It literally is a journey. That's my advice, is don't let success happen too quick. Just because you do something great once, this sport is about doing it day after day after day and over, year after year, and that's what will make you great. So don't get too far ahead of yourself too quick.
Well, I really appreciate that you say that, because so many people will see someone like yourself racing going, oh, wow, and they hit bumps in the road and then they give up because of the struggle. And I really appreciate that. That's the advice you shared, because for people that really want to be successful, anything that's worthwhile is going to take a lot of work. You're going to want to give up like most of the time. So thank you so much for chatting with me, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
I met Mandy yesterday, and you are also a racer. Would you mind sharing what kind of racing you do and how you got into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a driver in the ARCA Menard series, the number 74, and I've been racing in the ARCA about 2.5 years now, and this year we're dipping back into pro late models. I come from a background of a variety of racing. I did quarter midgets on asphalt for many, many years in the USAC series. I also did dirt modifieds for a couple of years to get some dirt experience, and then I did late models for about 8 years. So lots of different areas of racing. I'm a third generation racer, but the first female in my family to race.
I love that.
So yeah, it's great. It's very family oriented. We're a family owned team still, even at the ARCA level. One of the only family owned teams at the ARCA level. So we're really proud of that. My dad and my grandpa raced their own stuff for many, many years as well, and own a NASCAR truck team when I was really little. And then when they decided to sell that, I showed an interest in racing, and then they just went all in with mine.
Could you describe what ARCA racing is for like a newbie like myself? I don't know what kind of racing is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to describe it as the 4th tier of NASCAR. So it's right below, it's owned by NASCAR. It's a national touring series. We go to awesome places like Daytona, Talladega, Kansas Speedway, all sorts of great racetracks, and it's right under the NASCAR trucks. So we have nationally televised events. We're on Fox Sports 1 a lot, Fox Sports 2 a couple times during the year. So yeah, it's a great series. I love it.
That's great. If you have any advice for someone who's interested to getting into the type of racing that you do?
Oh, that's great. I would say sometimes it takes a little bit of time to build those connections, but just be a sponge. Soak up everything you can. Ask as many questions as possible. There are so many people in the industry who are happy to help as long as you show the passion and desire to get into the industry. So I would say, like, there are a lot of teams that would give you a spot in their pits and let you come and join them during the weekend if you just ask and offer to help out. So that's a great way to get involved and show people that you really want to be in the industry.
Meet Jacob. What kind of racing do you do, and how did you get into it?
Thank you for having me, Christina. It's really cool to be over at the Simpson Race Products booth. You know, I got into racing through my dad. My dad and my grandfather, I'm a third-generation racer. They both raced on a local level. I grew up into it. My parents actually met at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park over in Connecticut. So that's kind of how it all came about. I grew up in a racing family and just grew up driving race cars full-time. That's been the only thing I've ever noticed, the only thing I've ever loved. I absolutely love the sport more than anything in the entire world. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do with my entire life, and I know that sounds pathetic sometimes, but it's what we do. It's what we love. Pro athletes with their football, their commitments, that's the same commitment I have to the racing stuff. I absolutely love it, and just grew up in a family that was extremely supportive of my dreams, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Could you describe the type of racing? Because I'm so new, I don't really know the difference between all the different types of racing.
Absolutely. So if you name it, I've driven it. I do a lot of asphalt, oval, pavement stuff. That's my specialty. A lot of tour type modifieds over in our corner of New England. That's like the Pride and Joy series over by us, like the NASCAR Laela Modified Tour, Tri-Track Series, Modified Racing Series, stuff like that. So that's really like where we're set to be. I also go out, I run super late models on pavement down in the Carolinas, stuff like that, down in Florida. Run some ARCA stuff down at like places like Daytona. I do dirt. I run a lot of dirt midget stuff. I've been to the Chili Bowl. Just actually acquired another dirt midget through one of the teams that I'm racing with for their 2025, and I'm really excited for that opportunity to run some more dirt. Run dirt big block modifieds down at Lebanon Valley Speedway in New York. So literally, if you name it, I drive it. Asphalt winged midgets, anything. I just love racing, and I'll jump in anything and hopefully be successful.
Do you have a favorite?
That's a tough question. So on dirt, I love the midget sprint car series. That's definitely my favorite stuff. The raw speed, and you're basically riding a bucking Bronco the whole time, and trying to control the speed chaos with those is unlike anything you'll ever experience in terms of like the adrenaline and just trying to control natural things that you shouldn't be able to control. Those are probably my absolute favorite. On pavement, I love the true super late models, the 700 horse super late models that you just saw at the Snowball Derby last week down at Five Flag Speedway. I absolutely love driving those cars. And then I got to say, a little bit of my heart is with the Tour Type Modifieds, just because that's what I grew up around. Open wheel, 650 horsepower, and there's nothing else like them, the ground pounders.
If someone's interested in getting into racing and they haven't done it before, what advice would you give for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different ways nowadays. One of my favorite ways, I've worked with a lot of different kids on this coming up through the ranks that are just trying to break into the sport. iRacing. Big simulator stuff. I didn't have the simulator opportunities when I was young. We didn't even have one at the house. And then I started working with different companies and getting to go play on the really nice ones. If you just get yourself a budget simulator, say you spend $500 to $1,000, that's a really easy, affordable entry way to get in. Get comfortable. It gets you familiar with how a car semi-reacts. It gets you comfortable on tracks that you could go to for real life. Places like Stafford Motor Speedway. Stafford is phenomenal with their media presentation, everything that they do. They have a guy over there that does a rent-a-race car deal. For like, I believe it's $800, you can go rent a street stock for a night, and you get to go run the 20-lap feature on top of your practice sessions and everything else. They provide the helmet, the safety gear, everything. So it's a really cheap, affordable, clean, easy way to get into racing, and you can figure out if you like it without having to buy your own car and then decide, oh no, it's not for me, and have to find a way to sell it and everything else. So it's a great group of guys over there. You can do things like that. You can do the ride-alongs at little places, like the Richard Petty Racing Experiences have those. Or a lot of things, come to the track with people like us. I'd love to have kids. I take kids from UNOH and kids from different tech schools from around the area. We take them to the track with us. We get them hands-on and learning, and we deal with a class of engineers lately. They've been coming to the racetrack with us. They love getting their hands dirty and learning about racing and this and that. And then I put them on my simulator at home, and that gets them interested. I actually had one personal student, a great friend of mine, and she's now entered a program through her school where she's designing F1 style cars. Wow. And she's actually going to get the opportunity to drive one next year because of her hands-on experience with our racing stuff. So there's so many different avenues to get into racing through tech schools, or just coming out to your local short track and picking your favorite driver and asking to help be a part of the crew and just learning. But be hands-on. Don't be afraid to ask questions and be in the moment.
If someone wants to get in contact with you or follow you, you have social media and whatnot? Yeah,
absolutely. Social media is the only avenue for platforms nowadays. So it's Jacob Perry on Facebook, or Jacob Perry Racing on Facebook, Jacob Perry _21 on Instagram, and Perry Racing 21 on Twitter, or X, I guess. The only thing we don't have is TikTok. I don't know how to do the video editing that we're doing right here, so that's the only one. But we are on all social media platforms. Jacob Perry 21 on Snapchat as well. We have tens of thousands of followers on all the accounts, so feel free to join up and stay tuned to all our racing pages to learn about our schedule and come out and see the races. We'd be happy to send you guys merch and everything else. So I'm excited for the 2025 season, be a part of the Simpson Race Products team, and hopefully we can get something in Victory Lane together.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys, and thank you to Simpson Race Products and PRI for this opportunity.
This is Emmabritt. You're also a racer.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of racing do you do and how did you get into it?
I race legend cars, and I got into racing because I'm a second generation driver and I grew up around racing my whole life, and one of the kids that was racing for my dad kept a Bandolero for keepsake. I got into that race car and I never got out of it. And this is my first year in a legend car, and I've raced for a total of 5 years.
So could you explain, like, I am so new to racing, so what is a legend car? Like, what type of,
Yes, ma'am.
could you explain it a little bit?
So Humpy Wheeler, who lives in Charlotte, he came up with a Bandolero and legend car program called INEX, Inexpensive Racing, and it's also known as US Legend Cars. And we race at 3/8 mile, a quarter mile, all across the country. And a legend car has an MT-09 Yamaha motor, and a Bandolero has a lawnmower engine. A Bandolero is very similar to a go-kart with a roll cage, and a legend car is a very unique kind of car. They look like older race cars that you may have seen back in the 80s and 70s.
Wow, that's really cool.
Thank you.
If anybody is wanting to get into racing, what advice would you have for them?
I would have never to give up, and if you really love the sport, don't let anybody's negative attitude take away the thing you love. Remember who you are, always stay humble, and know that you have to make mistakes to grow and learn from them, and to never ever give up. You can always turn a can't into a can, and the only thing that can define you is your mind, and once you realize I can do this, you will.
Well, you just got an award.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell everybody about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I just got accepted into the class of 2025, Who's Your Hero? And a part of that is we started a voting round at the beginning in June, and it started out with 5,000 drivers that applied, and then it went to 25 drivers, which I was one of the 25, and then it was just singular. You were only allowed to pick from those 25 in my community and series, and everyone came together, and I'm still just so thankful for the amount of support I received, and I made it into the final 12, and we announced it yesterday at PRI at 10 o'clock, and it was just a wonderful experience. I've got to spend the entire little time at PRI with Hoosier, and it's been a dream come true. It's very surreal to see Hoosier behind these scenes, and it's been fantastic.
And you also race for Simpson too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's really cool.
So I race and in the legend car, and a guy named Chris Stillbeck, who is very known in our community in Georgia and all across short track racing, started working for Simpson, and he hooked me up with this amazing deal. And y'all should go check out my social media at emmabritt38 and emmabritt racing, and go check out my suit because it is bad to the bone. And if you want to look cool like me on race day, you should go get you a Simpson suit. It's fantastic. The gold, pink, and white pop out like no other.
I just met Jett. Would you mind sharing what type of racing you do and how you got into it?
So I race Ultra 4, the Youth 1000 class, and I got into racing, I don't know, I just started doing some hill climbing and trail riding, and it caught the attention of some people. And I don't know if you know Cody Willenberg with CW Motorsports.
I'm new to like all of the things, so I don't even know all the names.
He thought that I could race King of the Hammers, so we bought a 2021 Polaris Pro XP off of him, and I started doing some little knockout races, and then I did a 6-hour endurance race, some Ultra 4 stuff, bounty courses, all leading up to get practice in for this 2025 King of the Hammers.
You're going to, I hope I can go. We'll see if I can find a place to stay, because that would be really cool to actually see you race. Is it going to be your first time going out to King of the Hammers?
Yep.
Wow. Do you have any friends that are going to be going?
Cody, of course, and then John Whaley and Bryce Sparks, Whiskey Biz, you probably don't know them. They're on the CW race team.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of be with them.
Cool. Do you have any advice for anybody else who's interested into getting into Ultra 4 racing?
I don't know, but it's really fun and it's awesome.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Right? If someone wants to follow you, do you have social media and stuff?
Yeah, I have TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram,
All the
and
things.
YouTube.
I love it. Well, I'm going to put all the things in the caption, so if you want to follow and see him at King of the Hammers, that's awesome. Good luck.
Thanks.
If you guys saw my videos from LS Fest West, this is Carlos. He has a different car here today, which is really neat. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what type of racing do you do and how did you get into it?
Okay. I do mostly drag racing. That's my pride and passion. I want to start getting into more like the autocross and slalom, stuff like that. as I got older, it was in high school, I started getting a passion for imports. That's where I started and gravitated towards. And as I got older, anything that has 4 wheels, if we can make it faster, I'll try and race it. I really don't care. So,
Would you mind also sharing for the people who didn't see your previous segment, what is your background and what do you do for work?
I'm actually Deputy Sheriff of Riverside County Sheriff's Office. Right now, I'm on the homeless outreach team. My partner and I deal with all the homeless population in the entire county of Riverside. So, love my job, love what I do, and on the same time, it allows me to play with the cars and do all that.
I love that Carlos does a lot of like PR and helping promote safe. If you like to race, you like to go fast, and like to do all the crazy things, there's a way to do it where it's safe and where you're following the law and like everybody's happy that way.
Correct. I think it's a vital point. A lot of the youth, what they don't realize is you can drive your car fast, that's great, but when it's not in a controlled environment, all it takes is one individual to not pay attention or see what's going on, get just slightly in front of you. It doesn't have to completely get in front of you, but that's just enough to either cause them to get out of control, you to lose control of your car, and it's not just a matter of damaging yourself and your car, is what kind of carnage can you cause outside of what you just did. And to me, that's just not worth it, because it can completely change their lives and anybody else involved. And for me, that's too much of a risk to take.
What advice would you give maybe somebody wants to get into racing, or maybe they're not doing it the safest way? How would you recommend people look into, like, how do they do it the right way if maybe they haven't learned to in the past?
The best way I can say, unless you're filthy rich, which none of us are, devise a plan. Like, what do I want to do the most? Go kart racing, go and try and do a little bit of drag racing here and there at events, and figure out what kind of racing you want to do. If there's a niche that you find that you're really good at, maybe gravitate towards that and focus on building that vehicle. Once that vehicle's built, if you develop a name for yourself, it doesn't have to be up here. You can be a middle guy like us, and you get a lot of connections, and you build relationships with aftermarket companies. In turn, they see what kind of positive outlook you're putting out there with their product and what it can do and what you've done with it. They'll help you with future products, and that's what I've got. My son and I, it's a father and son project, and God, he's taken off, He's leaving me in the dust with all the stuff he's learning, all the stuff he's doing, the contacts he's making. It's to the point now where if I want something for one of the cars, I ask him if he's got contacts. And he's only 19 years old. So, I couldn't be any prouder of the guy. So.
Awesome. Where can people find you? Because you're on social media and whatnot.
Yes. I'm mainly on Instagram. My handle is los.built00, and then my son's as well. It's built.by.Zach.
Awesome.
So they can find us either way.
This is John. Would you mind sharing what kind of racing you do and how you got into it?
Yeah, no doubt. What we have here is a brand new 2024 Ultratech Dragster. We'll be racing this in NHRA divisional and national events in a class called Super Comp and in a class called Top Dragster. So we're able to utilize this in both things. We also 8th mile bracket racing at all the big money bracket racing events across the country. How I got involved in drag racing, well, my uncle took me to my first racetrack. And then after that, after I graduated high school, I attended Wildtech, which is a technical school in Laramie, Wyoming. They were able to give me a recipe to have a great career, not only in technical training, but also in professionalism. And so you ought to go on there and you check out wildtech.edu, and not only are they going to train you in technical side, but they're going to teach you how to succeed in the industry, how to be a standout. And that's where I can tell the young kids today is go get your trade school education. You learn it, you live it, and you love it.
What advice would you give to someone else that's interested to getting into drag racing?
In drag racing itself, is just go out to your local racetrack. They have street classes, they got beginner classes, so even if you got a street car, go out there and race it. Get involved with the sport, go volunteer. There's so many Facebook groups out there and there's so many communities on social media that you can actually understand way more about drag racing before you even step foot on the racetrack.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys want to follow along your journey, what do you have social media and stuff?
Yes, ma'am. So it's going to be at Scoggin Dickey Parts Center. It's for Scoggin Dickey Parts Center. And my name is John Alonzo III. You can find me on Instagram and social media, Facebook, and wildtech.edu.
This is Britney. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what kind of racing you do and how you got into it?
So I am a drag racer, and I actually got into it because my whole family drag races. We all build race cars, we all drag race. Literally started from both sides of my grandparents, all the way down to both of my parents, mom and dad, and then we all kind of just tried it out when we were of age, and it all just worked out, and all of us love drag racing.
What would you suggest for someone who's interested to getting into drag racing?
Definitely put yourself out there. There's a lot of people that are too scared to start the sport, especially when you don't grow up in a family that does it already. I think I would be the same way probably, but there's such a great community of racers that love it when new drivers start, so they are more than happy to help.
And where can people follow you? You have social media and all that?
Yeah, so all my social media is Britney Automotive. I have TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of them.
This is Tim. Would you mind sharing what kind of racing you do and how you got into it?
I've done just about everything road course. Started in road course go-karts, got into Formula cars. The path to getting into Formula car racing professionally in the United States was, I just felt like less chances than heading towards NASCAR, and they're getting all their talent at USAC, so I went sprint car racing, did mostly pavement, got into dirt. I made a living doing that for a couple of years, living out of the truck here in Indianapolis, and then I would make money on the side coaching guys in road race cars.
Oh, cool.
And it's like being a rock star, right? You're either rich and famous or dirt poor. Well, I was dirt poor. So I decided to open a shop at Sonoma Raceway and just coach guys. But I quickly figured out that, you could yell at them so much about what they're doing wrong. Their cars were so messed up. I mean, they just needed their setups fixed. So opened a shop, got an line machine, and started doing that. And it snowballed into, we've supported customers in every sanctioning body there is except for IndyCar. Even though we had IndyCar licenses, we supported Global MX-5 cars. So NASA, SCCA, Trans Am, SRO, IMSA, Lucky Dog, any sanctioned body, USAC, NASCAR. We've helped guys on the Saturday race at Sonoma. Pretty much anything road racing. So.
Do you have a favorite?
Cars that don't break. Reliability is my favorite. I don't care how fast or slow it is. I've probably made more money on Miatas than everything else combined.
Really?
And they're not, I must say the right words here on the internet. Everyone says Miata. It's not like, muscle car, but they're a great car. It was wildly more successful than the company ever planned on it being as a street car. And then as a racing class, I think it's probably the most successful racing spec class in the world ever. Like there's more cars across the world racing spec Miata. The little old NAs and NBs from 1989 technically, or they call them 90 to like 2004 cars.
Wow.
They're just, it's hard to beat good racing. You get, it's affordable, so you get enough idiots doing the same thing, and you're always going to have a good competition.
So I guess if you want to get started.
It's hard to argue, yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody who's interested in racing?
Just be hands-on. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's like, I don't know, just whatever you learn in school, and I'm not knocking that. I'm not going to go full micro and rant on colleges, but actually doing it hands-on and just, it's hard. I mean, I've said to people I wouldn't wish being in the motorsport industry on my worst enemy, because it just tests everything. It tests how little sleep you can get. It's hard work. Like Travis was talking about yesterday, but if you're passionate and you just refuse to lose, like, it's not easy. There's easier money to make in the world, but knowing this, I haven't changed direction just because I don't want to go do something else. I don't want to sit behind a desk. It's not easy, but hands-on. Just whatever it is, whatever you're passionate about. And there's so many niches in motorsports, especially for girls. Like we have a girl on our team that she didn't know anything, and she was kind of sheepish about stuff, but she had a smile on her face. She works hard. She's not afraid to get dirty, and she asks the right questions. So I guess if you do something outside of motorsports, like, I don't know that, working at a dealership or being a really good mechanic at something, it's not quite motorsport. It's a different animal. So she was just willing to do anything, and she's great help. And I told her, she's always nervous about things. I'm like, the fact that you get up in the morning and you're here willing to do anything, that is 95% of it. I mean,
Everybody
honestly,
starts somewhere.
Yeah, and just having the right attitude. Like there's gonna be some lumps and some bad days, but just if that's what you want to do.
I love that.
I don't know that I'd recommend it to anybody. It is really hard, and it's very competitive. I mean, that's the nature of the whole thing. But I don't want to do anything else.
You have to really want to do it. It's not like
Yeah.
a,
And that can apply anywhere in life. I mean, it's just it's hard to find a cooler job. So
It is pretty cool to
yeah,
watch. Like
a bad day
from
at the
the
track
outside.
is you're still at the track. I mean, so
If people want to follow along, maybe see you race, like where can people find you?
the most recent thing I've been doing was TA2 Trans Am. I drive for a guy, Jeremy at DIG Motorsports. Gave me an opportunity. We supported a bunch of cars in Trans Am. I was actually part of the series in 2005 when Trans Am was slowing down a little bit. They were running with Champ Car at the time. It's now IndyCar. And they wanted some field fillers, so they invited what was called GTA cars, which was a class created by Ron Cortez, who started AM Tires, which I now own. Ron passed away in 2018. But he was just a big proponent of everything racing, created classes. He was a smart guy. And so it was a budget-minded road course stock car, and that became TA2. So I did that championship in 2005, and we supported a bunch of customers. We kind of helped bump start the West Coast TA2 series.
So you go to those events?
Yeah, I
too,
was a
then?
dealer for Howe for years, and I guess technically I still am. Chaz is great. He's great at promoting stuff, and so kind of got back into that. I'd been supporting cars, but then I got to drive again.
Do you have like social media or a website or anywhere that people can go online to follow what you do?
I do. You can find me on Facebook. It's just my name, Tim Barber, or TFB Performance. I have pages for both. My website is so out of date because I can only do so much in 24 hours. So I need to fix that. But I guess Trans Am does a great job with their social media now. So I see articles on Racer Magazine on Facebook and all this stuff that my face just pops up when I'm not even looking for it. So they're great about that. They've done a really good job to promote it. Tony Perilla's done a great job with SVRA and Trans Am. And it is great bang for the buck. I mean, how fast those cars go for the cost is it blows any GT car out of the water.
Awesome.
So.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm excited to hear more about like what you do in the future.
Yeah, TFB Performance or AM Tires, just Google it. You'll find a phone number. Happy to answer any questions. Anybody that wants to get into it, again, it's you're gonna have to eat, sleep, and everything. I mean, it'll take over your life, but I don't want to sit behind a desk, so
I love it.
can't knock it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. I had a really great time. I really enjoyed meeting so many different racers that are different ages and also different types of racing. Because I'm so new, a lot of these different types of racing I've never heard of before, and most of them I haven't even seen in person before. And tomorrow I'm gonna be actually getting car tours, and if you guys wanna watch and follow along, subscribe to my channel. See you tomorrow.